events, or we have all these mitzvot that are telling us to prevent doing certain things against our fellow Jew. So the Kli Yakar explains, just as a little introduction to get us kind of in the mindset, as we've all grew up playing Lego or playing with building blocks, and when you're in the zone of playing building blocks, what happens? We build something big, and then what happens? Our friend comes over, or our little, our baby brother or sister, or even someone trips and they knock down the whole thing. And if your parents see it, they see how much you worked, and they want to they want to yell at the kid or the person or your friend, whoever it was, because they're upset, they're getting angry, right? And you don't know what to do because you're a kid still, so you get upset because you cry. And he says, and the kid screams to the father and says, "Daddy, look what I just did." And look what he just did. And the Kli Yakar explains that if the father was really looking and he really had harsh intentions, what would he do? He'd scream and yell at the kid who knocked down the building blocks. But he says he realizes it's just a game. He realizes it's just Lego. It's just the blocks. It's just whatever it is. And those blocks, we're doing Kli Yakar right now. It's just the blocks. And when the blocks are meant to, an hour from now, you're going to go find another game to play. You're going to do something else. And you're going to realize that all these things that you tried to build, and all your creative imagination, which are very important, they're going to move on. And the Kli Yakar explains, he says that this is exactly the whole idea of taking revenge and getting upset at all these things that we think are so important right now. We get angry at someone. We don't do something because he did something to us or she did something to us. We don't realize that this moment, that's what it was meant to happen. And so Hashem is telling us, think about it when you were building blocks. That's what the Kli Yakar says. It says, think about when you were building blocks, right? An hour from now, it'll blow away, it'll blow over. Give yourself the time to do that, and give yourself time to down the chav zchut, and give yourself time to see things through that eyes, as opposed to trying to get upset and get angry. Really try to understand that what's going on is Hashem has a plan, and sometimes we can't see that plan. Most of the time we can't see that plan. But the point is that we have to look at things as they're building blocks. And the building blocks, sometimes they fall down, but sometimes they also are building and helping us grow. And those building blocks, even though sometimes the building, we feel like it's coming down on us, many, many times, most of the time, if not all the time, it's helping us grow and helping us improve as a person and getting us close to Hashem. And Hashem has this a longer term vision that we can always see. Just as a kind of strength, bring it home a little bit more, when we say, right? I crawl from Hashem in the depths, Anani bar Merchavia. Allow me to see it, right? I call from Hashem in the depths, Anani, answer me, but Merchavia, let me see it in the wider vision, right? Sometimes when we get upset, we get so stuck in the tunnel that we don't see there's a bigger picture. And what we're saying when we say to Hashem, we're saying, Hashem, let me see the wider picture. Let me see that broader picture, because sometimes when I take a step back and I see what happened, I understand there was a bigger picture, and that me getting upset or having that tunnel vision was probably unnecessary, or a lot of times just, I got stuck in the moment as opposed to trying anything more significant. Anyway, so that was the quick introduction. Just I thought it was a really nice mashal that the Kli Yakar brings about building blocks. We've all done it. We've all built Lego. Some people still build Lego even as grown-ups, and it's important. So I just thought something that would be nice to share. Meanwhile, we're going to start the Zera Shimshon with actually a piece from Hallel that he talks about. It's interesting. It's about davening in general, our kavanot when we have in davening. He talks about it, why he brings about it here in Kedoshim. I'm guessing that he brings up here probably because of the Kedusha. What Kedusha means is what we should have, we should be always striving to be Kadosh. Otherwise, there's very little connection to the Parshat itself, but we'll go through it. I think it's a nice way to kind of focus ourselves during our davening and what we should have in mind. It's Parshat Kedoshim, Drush Hey. So in the art scroll, it's on page 481, and in the Svarim here, it's on page, is that not it? No, Kedoshim, that's Aleph, so it should be right, there we go. Drush Hey, next page, I think. Page Kuf Yud. Kuf Yud. So we're going to. It starts with the Gemara in Masechet Psachim. It says pasuk. Ahavti ki yishma Hashem et koli tachna. You see it? Got it? Kuf Yud? Kuf, yes, we should. Here, okay. Oh, wait. Okay. So it starts with the pasuk that we all say in Hallel. Ahavti ki yishma Hashem et koli tachnunai. I love Ahavti. Right? The Bnei Yeshar are saying Ahavti. I love Hashem. I love so that Hashem should hear my voice and my tefillah. Right? And at Kasheh, Dahayal Olamar Ta'avti. Right? When I say I love, the Gemara asks the question. He says, I don't understand why it says I love. It just says I want, I yearn, I strive. I have a yearning for it. I desire it. Right? Mainyan Ahavalakan. Right? What's the whole idea of having love here? V'zoti Kushya Shirgish Rava. Rava in Masechet Psachim Daf Kuf Yud Chet asks the same question. V'ter say Matan you ahuva lefanecha. The Marsha there explains that when am I considered? When am I beloved before Hashem? When you hear my voice, meaning Hashem talk to you. Kishma Hashem. That is the interpretation. The most based on the we know that there's most Sidurim have it that it says in the Siddur that before we start davening we have to accept upon ourselves mitzvah we have to accept upon ourselves the mitzvah of having to love our fellow Jew. And it doesn't mean something we just say. We actually have to go out and do it. Right? We actually have to means we have to really before we should really include every person when we daven. We should really have these people in mind. Shim lochein, right? If we don't, then he says our tefillot shouldn't be accepted. Sefirah have it in the beginning of the Siddur. They sing Harim Mekabel Alai Mitzvot Aseh Shel V'Ahavta L'Orecha Kamocha. There's a nice tune that he sings. I don't have a very good voice, so I'm not going to start pretending to sing it. But that's the idea is to accept upon ourselves, and it's not something we're supposed to say, but actually do it. There are many famous.
Actually, love it.
Yeah, it's a story about the Matot Midrash, Rav Frisch, who he went to a shul once, and he came to a shul, and he came to the shul, and he saw that the Rav of the shul before davening would go around to see any guests. He would go around making sure that they're comfortable, making sure that they have what he'd be achnas orachim, so eating coffee, you know where to stay, you have where to eat, and he came up to Rav Frisch, who was the Rav who wrote the Perush on the Zohar. He came to Rav Frisch and he said, Rav Frisch didn't talk before davening. So he said, no, wash and brush this Rav off. And the second time, the Rav said, no, do you want coffee? Can I get you something? He says, before davening, what are you doing? He says, no, we have a mitzvah to be Ahavta L'Orecha Kamocha. That's first. Then we could daven. Right? So he's saying, so he taught the Rav. Rav Frisch was no small person, right? So he taught him in the lesson. He's saying we can't just say the words. We actually have to go out and do it, right? So there's a lot of gabayim who make sure that there are people who are guests may feel comfortable, etc. We should do a little bit extra to love. In my heart, I love every Jew because I want Hashem to hear my tefillot, right? In other words, it's like it's a statement of declaration. I love everyone, and therefore, because I love everyone, tefillot. Because I have everyone in my head, in my mind, I have other people in my mind, right? In other words, it's a certain sense of obligation and a statement of the declaration. I say, Ahavti, I love, right? So that's the phrase. So he's saying is, now we can understand based on this, right? We can understand what is being said in the third parak of Sanhedrin. And it says, Rabbi Yehuda says, Sonei, a person, what type of person is considered an enemy with whom we don't have to speak, with whom we don't have to. We didn't speak to out of 3 for after 3. Lo nechshudu Yisrael al kach. Jewish people were never suspected of doing this kind of thing. This is based on a Gemara. That what type of person is considered an enemy who's disqualified for testifying, right? What kind of person? He says a person that doesn't talk to someone else for 3 days. And he says that we're not choshed of Jews doing that because Jews never do that. That maybe in those days the kasher. Why is the sin of hating a fellow Jew different than any